I have a few thoughts about what you just said. The first is about I was smiling when you were talking about Tottenham because I'm a Tottenham fan.
All right.
So I am a Tottenham fan, and I was really I won't forget the 1/3 rule because it's such an important aspect. And now you said it, I understand it because and it applies to what I do as an infectious disease physician because we've got a fellowship, so we train doctors are specializing, and then we have our team as consultants, infectious disease physicians in our team, and then we also have people work with other executives in the hospital, and I'm constantly moving across, and also within the hospital across PAs, consultants, and heads of departments, and it really is a rewarding week when I've spent a good amount of time in all three spaces, with the executive teams and with the peers and in hospital and consulting peers, as well as with the fellows, And so that completely resonates. And so people are maybe trying to do it or maybe unconscious of it. But now that you said it, it really helped, I think, the listeners because they're going to do it more purposefully. Successful people do it purposefully. They just look back and say, this week, what about that top 1/3, which is difficult? How am I going to do that? And so that really, I was also reflecting on work-life balance, and especially in the UAE, it's very tricky to dissociate work from home life. Certainly, as a doctor, you can be called anytime. And now with the team, it's less so because we have on call. But before, there was no difference between me at work and home because they could call me anytime because I was a single physician. Yes. And so I also had to consciously make sure that I am happy at work and happy at home, and I rest at work and I rest at home. There is no difference between home and life in terms of stress and rest because you can't dissociate that. And having that mission is so important. I wonder whether now you've made me reflect on, is that why we do this From Struggles to Success podcast? Perhaps that is why. Is also having that mission.
It's not an accident, right? It's
absolutely.
The dots are clear. It's connected. The more that they're aligned, I think the more sense of this fulfillment, right?
Fulfillment,
that needs to come. You know, it's interesting what you were saying around. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please, yeah.
You know, this thing about our mindset, right, around some of these challenges we might face about setting boundaries, right? If we imagine we have these physical boundaries, you know, we can put up a fence, right, to protect our home, you know, from wolves and lions and tigers and bears, whatever you are. But we don't do that in our mind, right? We don't set up the sort of visual fence in our minds to protect ourselves from those things. And we are actually able to do that, right? Because we need to determine whether we are in control or not. Now, when we feel we're not in control, that's when we play the victim card, right? That things are happening to us, right? We are not able to enforce those things. And I think, you know, that's the opportunity where I think, you know, high performers tend to think from the perspective of being in control. Their locus of control is internal. It's not external. It's not the environment. It's not the, you know, the nature of the economy. It's not the weather. It's not their mood, their boss's mood, right? Yes, they're all factors, right? But their actual determinant of the quality of their life needs to come from here. And, you know, when you make that choice, right, it's a bit like the idea, and this is a little bit controversial, that stress is a choice. Because you can put
stress
people
is how you react to.
Yeah, absolutely.
How you react.
Imagine you and I going down the main highway here, Sheikh Zayed Road, right, in the UAE, and you know someone cuts in front of both of us, right? The same stressor, right? And you are calm. You let that person come through. You just back off a little bit. Whereas for me, I might be beeping my horn, flashing my lights, doing all sorts of things. Same stress, but stress is a choice, right? And we get to choose how we respond. We are not victims of the stress, right? We are actually participants, active participants in that stress. And therefore, we have a choice to make about how we choose to respond. And that is, for me, at the crux of all of this, right, is the actual formula that runs all of our lives. It is the formula, the algorithm, and I'm sure you've come across this, you've seen this many times. There is one algorithm that runs every human being on this planet. And that is that thoughts affect feelings and feelings affect behavior. That is the cognitive cycle. And every single human being can be explained using that same mechanism. And when we learn that our thoughts, when we control our thoughts, that then manages to control our feelings, how we feel about a situation, and then our behavior, our actions, right? This is why some people can face the same crisis and have a completely different outcome.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so, what's really interesting, and this kind of hit me in third year university, which was that the mind and the brain are two separate things. I don't know why I didn't realize this up to that point. I'm a bit slow, Emmanuel. So, you would have got this a lot faster than me. But I realized that the brain is a survival mechanism. That's all it is. It's just there to survive, right? The mind is our thriving mechanism. It is, if you like, the software, and the brain is the hardware.
Oh, yeah.
Now, every time I've got an iPhone, right? Every time these freaking iOS upgrades keep coming up on my phone, right? Either I accept it or I deny it, right? And life is the same. Life keeps giving us, particularly through the struggles, the opportunity to upgrade our software. But we can choose to decline the upgrade. That is our choice. So the question is, do I choose to accept the upgrade? And therefore, what is in it for me through that process? And therefore, the upgrade of the software just keeps happening. It's a fluid process. Every day we are upgrading, right? That part I love about what I do, because I see it in every person I interact with. I see it in myself, right? And so I have to choose the upgrade. Upgrade is not going to choose me, right?
I completely, and I love that analogy you've just given about the software upgrade. That struggles are opportunities to upgrade the software. You can choose to ignore it, or you can choose to use it to upgrade the software. And people who are high performers, people who are successful, they do that. They see it as an opportunity, and they convert it into higher software. They go to the next level, and they just keep doing it and enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't learn the skill, then you don't do it.
Yeah, that's on you.
And that is so clear. Thank you for putting it that way. It's a brilliant way of putting it. Really, I really completely identify with it. And also, you talked about thoughts, feelings, and behavior, and that has also been a fascinating aspect when I work with people. I also coach. I'm a business and executive coach, and so on a day-to-day basis, I have conversations on the floor with staff, and often it fascinates me why some people faced with a problem will get into action, commit, and do something about it, while others will sit with it.
Yeah,
will sit with it, and you know what hospital is like.
Yeah,
We have challenges in hospital, we have incidents in hospitals, and problems. But for some people, it will be the world is coming to an end. There's nothing we can do. We don't have resources. We don't have enough staff. We're under a lot of pressure. It's too busy. It's too busy, and then nothing gets done. And others, it's okay. What can we do? And they move on, and things improve. And so, getting the previous group I've just talked about to get to the other side fascinates me. And I wonder, from your thought, what makes them click? I have my own thoughts about how to do it, but I wondered whether you want to share from your experience. How do you, when you're coaching people or teams, how do you get them to move from just thoughts to actually changing behavior and doing something and working on the things they have control over?
So let me give you an example on that. It's a really good question. So if you imagine that, most of the situations that we're in are actually laid in three ways, right? So what we tend to see is the symptom of the problem. So say, for example, the symptom is people always complaining how busy they are, right? We see this a lot in organizations, right? If you cut one layer down, it is how that person feels about the fact that they're too busy, right? That I feel rushed, I feel anxious, I'm afraid I'm going to make mistakes, all these things are happening, right? The answer actually lies in the next level down. That is where their values are. So I'll give you an example. Because I'm so busy, right, I might make a mistake. And if I might make a mistake, it means that I might lose my job. And if I'm insecure about the stability of my job, and if I know, for example, in an expat environment, if I lose my job, everything goes. Education allowance, my visa, my healthcare. I might have to go back to my home country. I don't want to go back there. So all of a sudden, what we see is people not acting on the symptom, right? And so if we actually address it at the very foundational level, which is your job is safe, right? We want people to feel secure or stable, right? And this has come up a lot in this idea of psychological safety, right, in the workplace. A lot of the work by Amy Edmondson out of Harvard talks a lot about this, right? That people are so worried about, that top level of the symptom that they don't understand what's causing that within me. That's holding me back from being able to do what I need to do. And sometimes they don't feel safe to even talk about this, right? So imagine if, someone, a nurse or someone, administrator could come to anybody in the hospital at a higher level and say, hey, you know what? There's way too much work on, and I'm worried about the fact that that's going to result in me making some mistakes. And if I make mistakes, either someone's going to die or someone is going to, there's going to be some other issue or complication, right? Now, if we don't feel safe to say those things, nothing gets changed, right? And then potentially something tragic might happen, right? As a result of no one being able to speak up. So a high-performing team or a high-performing individual is actually able to address the values, that they understand that they're being driven by the values, that what you see on the outside, the surface, what people tell you is simply the symptom, right, of what they say. It's a bit like when people come in for coaching. When you ask them, what's up? What's going on?